Welcome to the My Business Podcast, where we sit down with local businesses and we talk about who they are, where they come from, and what inspires them to be in business.
Hello and welcome to the My Business Podcast. My name is Adam Bell and I'm your host. And today in the studio with me from BuyGC is Gavin Henry. Welcome, Gavin.
G'day, Adam. Nice to be here.
Excellent, mate. So you're a buyer's advocate. You're a buyer's agent.
Correct.
Tell me a bit about your background, because you've been around property just about your whole life, haven't you?
Absolutely, Adam. My father was a builder. We moved to the Gold Coast in 2 years old. When I was 2 years old, Dad was a roof tiler in Sydney, and he became a builder on the Gold Coast. So I've basically grown up in the property industry. My whole life's been in property. I worked for my dad on school holidays when I was growing up, and then I did a carpentry apprenticeship. And then followed in his footsteps and started up my own building company back in 1992. So
okay.
Then I did basically 30 years building a lot of different types of projects, commercial, industrial projects, self-storage centres, did heaps of those, and multi-residential stuff as well. And then retired from building in 2015. I just kind of had enough and wanted a bit of a different life and different challenge. So I went into real estate and did 6 years selling residential property, basically around the central Gold Coast area.
Okay, so you've been on the other side of the coin as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So real estate was a good phase of my life there. I did 6 years, as I said, with Mermaid Beach and Broad Beach, selling houses and apartments predominantly, which was a nice change from all my time in the commercial building side. But real estate was good, but what I found in that period was that the buyers were sort of all at sea a lot of the times. They had no one really helping them, and I saw a bit of a unique opportunity where I could step across and actually work with the buyers to help them navigate through the process.
Fantastic. Tell me, what does a buyer's agent actually do? Because I'm not sure that everyone out there knows exactly the role you play and the value you add.
Yeah, well, it's a very new concept here in Australia. It's funny because in America, every single transaction has a selling agent and a buyer's agent.
Really?
Yeah. And if you watch some of those reality shows, The Block and things like that, you'll quite often find that there's a guy there, bidding at the auction on behalf of buyers.
Yep.
So it's kind of like in the Sydney and Melbourne market, it's been around a little longer. So it's a relatively new concept here. But basically what I am is I'm there to help and support the buyer through the whole process of buying a property. Buyers typically only buy a property a few times in their life, and it's great to be able to have somebody on your side working in your best interest to get through it.
Absolutely. That would give you peace of mind with the amount of knowledge you'd have, especially with the industry. You've been around the industry forever and knowing everything that you know. I mean, I know you personally, Gavin, and everyone says what you don't know about property isn't worth knowing. So, look, tell our listeners, what are the advantages of using your service, of using a buyer's agent? What are the advantages over them doing it themselves?
Well, you won't buy a lemon because I'm a builder. You won't pay too much because I'm all over the market. You'll get to know every property in the market because not only the ones you see online, but I also, with my relationships with agents, I'll find out about properties that are yet to come to market. So we get the early jump on all that sort of stuff.
Okay, so you find out about properties that aren't on realestate.com.au.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. We're every day we're talking to real estate agents. And when we get a client on board, we get the brief right, what they're looking for. We'll send out emails and text messages to the other day we sent out 364 emails for a property. Where what we're trying to do is we're trying to get to the properties that are yet to come to market. So when we find we can get stuff off market or pre-market, we can quite often buy it well.
Fantastic. So that's just a huge advantage in itself, to just know that there are more properties available that if you did it yourself that you just wouldn't have access to.
Well, you've got to remember, every property you see on market previously wasn't on market. There was a seller who was thinking about selling it. They spoke to a few different agents. They chose one. They got the photos done. You know, they cleaned up the yard, they did all that sort of stuff, and then they went live on the market. Well, wouldn't it have been good to know about that property a month earlier when you're not competing against, 40 people coming through an open home?
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of the common challenges or obstacles that buyers typically face, and how do you help them overcome these?
Well, probably the biggest one is when you're going through, when you see a property and you go to an open home, the agent's reading you straight away. As soon as you walk in the door, he's looking at your motivations. He's also trying to gauge how serious you are. Are you a nosy neighbour? Are you, are you ready to buy or not? And a lot of people probably wrongly don't really share enough information with the agent, so he doesn't really know how serious you are. Well, if you've employed a buyer's agent to represent you, we immediately go to the serious buyer status without having to reveal straight away how much money you've got to spend and how desperate you are to buy and all that kind of thing. We're there to protect, I guess, your emotions being shown with the agent.
I think that's a fabulous point you make there, because for most, if not all, property buyers, this is the biggest transaction they're ever going to make in their lives, and there is a lot of emotion involved. And the thought of, I don't want to pay too much. How do I approach?
Yeah, but you don't want to miss it either.
You do this every day.
Yeah, exactly. And so does the real estate agent. So they actually really enjoy working with us because, in a way, I sort of speak their language. I'm working in the buyer's interest, but I'm still, quite often I find I end up kind of coaching the agent a little bit sometimes on what they could go and say to their vendor. Obviously I'm trying to get a deal done at the best possible price for my buyer, and the seller, needs to, he wants to close the deal. So we work together, and they quite often, when the deal's done, they quite often say, gee, it was so easy working with you, like you looked after the buyer and, I just had to talk to the seller.
And I imagine what would be really comforting for your clients to know is that they can talk to you and tell you everything, have no secrets, not have to hide anything, can talk to you straight out and tell them what they're feeling, what they like, what they don't, how much they're willing to spend, all of that. They can have that with you confidentially, and you with your skill set can then take that to the negotiation however a deal's being put together.
Oh, exactly right. I mean, we are 100% on their side and working in their best interest, and we choose what information to share and when to do so.
Sure. What tactics do you employ in the negotiation process? Because you've probably got tactics and strategies that your layperson going to buy property without someone like you representing them just would not know about, or skills that they wouldn't have.
Well, every deal is different, and it just depends on how long the property, like if it's a property that's already on the market, how long has it been on the market? Because sometimes you could be making a good offer, but if it's only just come on the market, the owner's probably still got very high expectations, because quite often agents overquote a little bit to try to get the listing. So you could come in with a fair offer and it won't be accepted because their head's too high in the clouds.
And it's too early in the process.
It's too early in the process. Yep. So to sort of increase your offer dramatically to try to get it is, quite often the wrong approach. You want to, it's just going to take time. But I communicate constantly with the agent. I'm always there in the picture. And what I often find is that we always kind of get like the last bite at the cherry. So we only have to, move up when we need to.
Sure.
And there's always a chance we can always, buy it for less.
Absolutely. I believe there's a lot of statistics and metrics that you look at, when looking at a property and how it's priced and whether it is a fair price, and so that again, your lay buyer probably doesn't even know exist. Can you talk me through some of those?
Yeah, well, of course. Well, what we always do is we'll analyse the property. We want to know what year it was built. How many square metres it is, what size block of land it is, what the obviously the other market results around the area, what things have sold for. We also, like when we go through and evaluate a property, we're looking at things like, the date on the hot water system and what type of appliances they are, and is there ceiling fans and air conditioning, what type of
north
air conditioning.
Facing, south facing, all of that.
Oh, yeah. The, right down to the, quality of the curtains, and whether and from a building point of view, we're always evaluating where you can value add with properties. Sometimes if somebody might want a 4-bedroom home, but we'll go and look at a 3-bedroom home and work out whether could you convert the garage to a 4th bedroom and add a carport, or how else can we achieve the end result at the most economical price. But there's another huge thing, Adam, is the understanding the motivations of the vendor.
Geez, that's something I'd never think about.
Yeah, most people, you've got your own terms and conditions that you need to do, whether you've got finance clause, how quick you want to get in, all that kind of thing. But I always want to understand what the vendor's actually motivated, what his motivations are.
I love that, because, again, you're giving me an example, Gavin, of where you're not coming at this from an emotional standpoint.
No,
you're looking at this purely transactional and getting the right deal and making a deal happen. But if I was coming at this from just being a buyer and doing it would be all about me. I want this, I want that.
Yeah.
This is my biggest purchase ever. I need everything to be right.
Yeah, and that's right. And if you've got some flexibility, sometimes we can tailor the, like maybe the vendor wants 90 days because they want to go and buy something else. There's a great story I could share briefly, but about one where we actually were the 3rd highest price, but we had the best terms. So it's not always about the money. If you can listen and understand what the vendor needs, and if you can accommodate that, you can quite often buy better. One thing I want to say about property, though, we can analyse it all we like, but at the end of the day, it's not an exact science. No buyers' motivations are exactly the same. No sellers' motivations are the same. No houses are exactly the same. Our job is just to try to do the best job we can to try to bring it together. But I could think a property is also perfect for you, Adam. This one ticks all the boxes. This is right by the criteria. And then you might come and look at it and go, no, look, it's just not me. I can't see myself living there. And that's fine. Our job, we're on your side. We're not going to, coerce you and say, oh, look, you've got to buy it. Like a real estate agent wants to sell you what he's got. I want you to be happy. I want you to find the property that's ideal for you. And if we have to, keep searching and look at 20 different properties, that's fine. There's no pressure from us. We're on your side.
Sure. You said with you'd never buy a lemon. What do you look for, and what do you see for a property to be a lemon? And probably a double-pronged question here. I'm sure there's been times where you've had a client who's wanted to go ahead with a property and you've said, please don't.
Yeah, well, a lot of courtesy of a lot of the home renovation shows, there's a lot of people out there who think they can do a lot of it themselves,
right?
And certain aspects they can, but to the trained eye, I can see what's been a home renovation by amateurs and what's been done by professionals.
Yep.
I don't want there to be any nasty surprises. I still totally endorse getting building and pest inspections. But on the surface, I can sort of see things whether something's been done properly. But as I said, we're analysing things like does the property have insulation? Quality fly screens, like everything like that. When you go through a property, and I'm sure you've done it. You walk through the property. You're there for 5-10 minutes, have a quick look, you walk out to the car. If I asked you all those questions, what kind of fly screens, what kind of curtains, what kind of, did it have fans, you probably wouldn't remember.
No.
So when we go there, we're going there objectively to so I like to inspect all the properties before and if they're off-market properties, there probably isn't photos online and videos and stuff like that, so we do all that while we're there. And then if someone's interstate, or can't come and view the property, we can certainly send all that stuff, or do FaceTime calls and things like that.
Sure. So what sets you apart as a buyer's agent in this area? What unique value, Gavin, do you provide that maybe others can't?
Well, I've lived here all my life. I've got that strong building background. I've done 6 years in real estate. And I've always owned property. Personally, I've owned 35 properties in my life, and a lot of them I bought, renovated, flipped and stuff. So, I think I've got a bit of a unique skill set.
It's a pretty good resume.
But it's also about the network I've developed. I've always acted with integrity. There's not a single agent on the Gold Coast I can't call and talk to. I've never burnt anybody. I'm a straight shooter. I'm empathetic and I listen to people, and a good communicator.
Fantastic. Tell me about some success stories.
Okay, well, a couple of quick ones. Just recently, there was a lady. She wanted to buy a property, around the Broadbeach area. She had a specific thing. She wanted to be right in the heart of town, so she didn't have to walk, a distance at night after been out for dinner. And she also wanted something that was something she could possibly get a bit of income from. So the alarm bell went off for me because I'd spoken to an agent 2 weeks before that who had a dual key property in a unit complex right in the heart of Broadbeach. And so I rang him the next morning. Is that available still? Yes, it is. We got through at lunchtime. They wanted in the high 8s. We offered 850. They came back at 865. She would have been happy with that. And then I went, well, I'm not happy. Let's push a bit harder. And I got it for 855. And she was wrapped, But but the thing was, we weren't competing against anybody else. The property wasn't advertised. It wasn't on the market. They weren't getting bombarded with inquiry, obviously, because it was off market. And we're able to just pick that property up. And that's a property she never would have found.
Wow, that's fantastic. Are there any areas of the Gold Coast that you particularly specialise in, or you've been around so long and lived here your whole life, are you pretty much, good to go across the whole Gold Coast?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I know the Gold Coast intimately. Been here all my life. Probably I've lived generally in the sort of Ashmore area to Burleigh Heads my whole life. So, Broadbeach, Mermaid, Isle of Capri, Bundall, Sorrento, Mermaid Waters, Burleigh, they're probably the areas that I'm most au fait with. But I can certainly help people anywhere on the Gold Coast. So I know people all over the Gold Coast who we can tap into. Yeah. And I've helped people further afield. There was a lady up at Yamundi. I helped her buy a property. It doesn't take long.
I guess with your skill set and your knowledge, your experience, and your network especially, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, that's right.
You can find the property wherever it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. So how do you stay updated on all the current trends, developments? There's so much that goes on in the real estate market. How do you stay on top of all that?
Oh, well, I do it for a living, Adam. I'm here every day studying the market. Most people, got a job and a career that they've got to focus on, and, they're trying to buy a property, so they're trying to, follow what's going on. But, I'm a member of the REIQ. I talk to probably 30 real estate agents a day. I'm dealing with conveyancing lawyers, so I'm, all constantly updated. Finance brokers. It's just a daily thing. You just constantly, and I'm following the market. I'm looking at prices, looking at what's sold. I'm on, countless circulars from real estate agents. I'm getting their newsletters. I'm getting, financial, data from brokers about what's going on in the economy and that kind of thing. So,
yep, you know your stuff. I would imagine, and tell me if I'm wrong, but when you start to talk to a real estate agent on behalf of your client about a listing that they've got that you might potentially be interested in, I dare say they're happier to be dealing with a buyer's agent. Is that an advantage?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Than the actual buyer themselves?
Oh yeah. Well, as I said earlier, the agent's trying to sum up the buyer right from the get-go. And, he's obviously trying to, read all their signs and everything like that. With me, I'm protecting that buyer from that because I'm just talking more. I kind of liken it to two doctors. If they were talking about a patient in front of the patient versus stepping into another room and having a frank conversation about it, they cut to the chase a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And what I find is, I know kind of how to ask the questions to the agents, and I'm almost talking to them like a colleague, like I'm working on one of the other staff members or other salespeople in their office, and they end up divulging a lot more. It could be an auction property, and I could just say, look, what'll buy it, and they'll probably tell me. Yep. Where they'd never say that to a buyer because they just say, oh, well, you've got this amount of money, you better be here on auction day. The owner wants to sell it,
There's always a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but you've seen it. You've seen it all, and you know what's smoke and mirrors and what isn't.
And I'll be honest with the agent. I'll say what my client's budget is, but that doesn't mean just because we've got, say, $1 million to spend that we think every property is going to be worth $1 million. We're still going to be astute about what we are prepared to offer.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes they get off the phone and they think, "Gee, I can't believe I told him all that." But we're working together to get a deal done.
Absolutely.
And I'm doing half the work for them.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, look, there's probably listeners out there thinking, okay, well, look, I can see the advantages. This sounds great. How good would it be to have someone like this in my corner? And there's definitely value there. But they might be thinking, well, what's it going to cost me? What does a buyer's agent charge?
Well, there's a range of services we do. Like we can just go and, if somebody finds a property they really like, we can just go and bid for them at the auction.
Oh, just as a standalone service?
Yeah, that's right. Standalone service, we can do that. That's not an expensive thing, and we, rather than being a deer in the headlights and all stressed out, I go into it with a plan. I understand what your limit is, and then I'll bid accordingly to try to secure the property for the lowest possible price. Every auction's different. Until the auction kicks off and starts, you don't really know how it's going to be played.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's big bids, sometimes it's small bids, but it's more than that. It's what you say, where you stand, what you wear, how you say it, timing, questions to ask in the auction. There's a lot to it. And, 6 years in real estate with a predominantly auction-based businesses, I certainly know that game. You can also, if you've found a property and you just, this is the property I want to buy and I don't know how going about buying it, it could be expressions of interest, price guide, it could be going to auction. So devising a strategy, I can help you if you've just found a property that you want help with. Or there's the bells and whistles where we get out there, we contact all the agents, we try to find the off-market stock, we negotiate all the way through. So like sourcing, evaluating, negotiating is basically what we do.
Fantastic. Look, it's been wonderful to actually understand and find out what you do, Gavin, and how you do it. I mean, I could imagine now, having heard all that, why anyone would ever do it alone. I mean, it would just be so comforting knowing you've got an expert in your corner who's working for you. I mean, just, again, looking at this from a helicopter view, every buyer puts an agent in charge of their property to sell it because they're an expert. It is possible to do it yourself, but very few do. So why aren't more buyers engaging agents to help them?
Oh, 100%. Like when you think about it, it's pretty ridiculous that people don't get help. Like if you're going to buy $100,000 worth of shares, you probably wouldn't go and put it all in one company. You'd probably spread your risk. You can't do that with property. You have to buy one property, right? Secondly, if you were, you'd probably seek the advice of a financial advisor and take advice on how to spend it. Even though you can look up the stock market and you know exactly how much those shares are worth today, you'd probably still seek the advice.
Absolutely.
But with property, you can't look it up and see what it's worth today because it's a fluid market. So the fact that people don't seek advice, I'm independent. I'm their advocate. I'm there to help them through the process. I feel like I'm more of a property advisor than anything more really.
Yep. Look, 3 words come to mind with what you offer this to your clients, and that's peace of mind. Having you in their corner provides peace of mind, and why wouldn't you want that when you, as I said, probably making one of the biggest, if not the biggest, transaction of your entire life?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One other thing we just haven't mentioned is commercial property. Like I mentioned before, I basically spent 30 years in commercial, building mainly. My family's always invested in commercial and industrial property, so I really know the matrix. You spoke before about matrix. With commercial, it's more about return, but there's other very important factors about commercial property as well. So I'm probably unique in that I've got knowledge in both areas, and with the investment, like with the rise in interest rates we've experienced in the last couple of years, it's hard to get a good return out of residential, and I've noticed that the residential investors have sort of backed off away, but commercial has always produced a higher return, so I can help people with that as well.
Fantastic. So it's not just locals that you help, like people on the Gold Coast. You can help people from interstate or even internationally who are looking for a property here?
Oh, for sure. Definitely. The Gold Coast people obviously have a lot to benefit from as well, but the interstate people, international people who are not familiar with the Gold Coast probably have a little bit greater to gain. in that I can advise them on the right suburbs that suit their lifestyle and their requirements.
Oh, I didn't even think of that, because they don't know what's here. They don't know the ins and outs. They're going to get even more value.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like it's we can do FaceTime calls, and we certainly can help them.
Fantastic. Now, there's probably a few people listening out there who said, look, I know the value you can add. I'd really like to use, Gavin, like to use a buyer's agent, but I've done my budget. I've got my loan. I know what I'm able to spend. How am I going to be able to afford to put Gavin's fees on top of that?
Well, it's just our negotiation skills. Like, we'll position our offers, we'll get the terms right, we'll do everything we can to buy property at the lowest possible price. We'll certainly get a lot lower than you will.
Really?
Just because we just know what we're doing. We're doing it every day. We get greater insight from the agents. And then if we can find something off market, quite often we can buy that cheaper because we're not competing against other people. So as a rule, we probably save people 2 or 3 times what our fees are. Oh, yeah.
Hold the phone. So we can come and engage you to give all the value that you've just said. Have you in our corner, have peace of mind and save money?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. That's generally how it works, and we quite often will find the property that you won't find either. So, like, what value do you put on that? Finding a property that you never would have found. Could be the perfect property that's totally ticks all your boxes, and you wouldn't have found it because it wasn't on realestate.com.
It's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you do it?
Well, do it. Tell everyone to do it.
Do it, everybody. Do it.
No.
And what about commercial properties, Gavin? Can you help with commercial?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said earlier, most of my career was actually in commercial industrial building, and my family has always had a lot of investments in the commercial and industrial field. So I understand. You spoke earlier about a matrix, and certainly commercial property very much is a lot of maths. I'm great at maths, so that's an advantage. So the understanding the financial returns, and there's a lot more to commercial than just that. But I'm probably a bit unique in that I understand both.
So how do people get in touch, Gavin? There's people out there hearing this right now who's thinking, I need to know more. I want Gavin to do this for me. It'll take the load off. And give me peace of mind. How do they get in touch?
Oh, heaps of ways, mate. Our website, buyGC.com.au. We're on social media, BuyGC, Buyer Advocacy, Instagram. You can call me, 0411 888 381.
Say that again.
0411 888 381. Always happy to help people. And even if it's just advice, like, I just want to help people get what they want out of property and not be not pay too much. And so even if you've got some questions, I'm always happy to help answer them.
Awesome. Gavin Henry, thanks for being a guest on the My Business podcast. It's been wonderful.
Awesome, Adam. Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks for listening to the My Business podcast. If you want to be on our podcast, please reach out to the team on all our socials at mybusiness.pod.